This production is sponsored by The Good Estate Agent. With an average turnaround time of 3 weeks, if you want your house sold quickly, then contact Stefan today on 01942 356 577. Quote Super League Raw for 33% off. So good afternoon and welcome to the Captain's Run. Well, not long now, about 48 hours to go, just over, so should I say, Steph. A massive weekend of rugby league action. If reports are to be believed, though, this afternoon, Luke Keary wouldn't agree with that. Horrendous Super League. Going to get many friends at Magic, is he?
No, I think he maybe needs to look in the mirror a little bit and look at his own performances before the overall performance of Super League. But yeah, we'll leave that one there, I think.
We'll leave that one there. Also, as well, Sam Burgess being linked with the Perth Bears as well. Brad Arthur, maybe not.
Yeah, no surprise there. I think any NRL job or assistant job Sam's going to be linked with, isn't it? Just because of his history over there. But yeah, I think I'd take all these reports with a pinch of salt at the moment.
Absolutely. Carla Collier straight in. She's looking forward to Magic Weekend. Good afternoon to you, Carla. Massive weekend of sport on the horizon. First question, Steph. Do we think we can beat the highest attendances at Newcastle? Saturday, the Saturday one in 2015, just under 41,000 was at St James's Park. And in the Sunday of 2012 at Manchester, it was just under 33,000. Do you think we could top that?
I think they're going to struggle on the Saturday to get that kind of thing. Obviously, with Salford playing KR, I think Salford would be. I can't see. Well, saying that, Salford fans have been very loyal, haven't they, through this time? So, yeah, I think we might put. I'm expecting an overall of about 56,000. I think over the course of the weekend.
56,000. Well, we'll have to wait and see. But of course, lots of people in the chat, lots of people on our members going. It seems as though it could be a good one. And good afternoon to Nicola Burnwood. She's with us as well. Happy days. Good to see Nick with us also. Right, let's get in. Let's get straight for it. Here we go. Alex Sharp thinks that Sunday is the best lineup of fixtures. But the first one is an absolute peach. It really, really is. It's the Leigh Leopards taking on the Catalan Dragons. Now, at the point of going on air, Catalan Dragons yet to officially release their squad, which is quite amazing, really. Everybody else has. They have not posted it at all on social media, which is an interesting one. We're keeping an eye out on that, but at this moment in time, we haven't got it, which is a bit of a surprise because that should have been out probably about just over half an hour ago, but never mind. In terms of Magic Weekend, a bit of a change to the graphic this week because it's Magic Weekend. The history at Magic, 2 from 7 for the Leopards going into this one, Steph. 8 from 16 for the Catalan Dragons. The Dragons also has a draw in there as well, which is interesting. As you can see, both sides come into this game with a 3-game winning streak behind them, which is good news. Nothing in it in terms of tries scored. Tackle efficiency incredibly close. Conversion going the way of the Dragons. That's a disappointing goal conversion from from Leigh, 58.8. That's a bit of a shocker. Penalties, 48 to 47. Of course, they have met already this season once already. That was in round 3, a brilliant win at the LSV for the Leigh Leopards, 34 points to 6. And if you remember, that was the day where Yamila Hanley scored his hat-trick. It was a belter. No Hanley we're expecting for this one, of course. But looking at that, Steph, it's going to be a good game, isn't it?
Yeah, I think a lot of the neutrals and the other pundits are predicting this to be one of the best games of the weekend. So hopefully that comes to fruition. Obviously on the history stats, Leigh, since they've been the Leopards, have won both the games at Magic. Obviously it's in previous seasons when they've been in Super League and not been as competitive. They've not had the victories there. So we have got a bit of recent good form at Magic Weekend. On the conversion stuff for Leigh as well, I think a lot of that, not an excuse by any means, but I think a lot of these tries have been scored out wide this season, in the wings. And obviously I think that's affected that percentage. But one that we'll need to address if we're going to be a top 6 side, definitely, because conversions are so valuable, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm surprised as well, because it's not like Gaz O'Brien is not a good goal kicker. He's been doing it all his career. But, when I put things together for these shows, mate, sometimes things just stick out and you go, wow, who'd have thought that? Yeah. Absolutely incredible. Right. Like I say, we haven't got the Catalan one, but we have got the Leigh one. So let's have a quick look at that. Here we go. Here he comes. And as you can see, this is the squad. No Armstrong, Steph. You said that Armstrong was likely to be missing, I think, on weekly. There is no Armstrong. Talk us through your squad.
So obviously the big one is Armstrong missing from that one. Tessie New and Amaya Hanley, interestingly named in there. I believe Tessie New's more likely to play than Hanley. I'd be very surprised if Hanley does play. Gaz O'Brien's 50-50 as well, apparently. So that's going to be interesting because obviously key position, and will Ben McNamara then move into the halves with Lockie Lamb if that's the case. Massive miss in the second row in Frankie Holton. Obviously, that's going to be a big concern given how good he's been this season, particularly in defence. Aaron Penney, I think, has dropped out from last week's team as well, but obviously replaced with Big Joffa getting his debut. So I'm assured he's going to play this week. So that's going to be I think the highlight for the Leigh fans is to see how he goes against what's going to be a very physical Catalan pack, especially Sarte and Pangai Jr. going against Big Joffa.
Just on obviously my view on that in terms of a Leigh squad, if New does play and there is no Hanley, Badrock probably did enough, I would have thought, to keep his place in the side at Salford. Yeah. Bailey Hodgson to deputise again at fullback. He's another one who had a great game at Salford. And it'd be amiss of me not to say that, yes, no Frankie Holton, but Jack Hughes as well had a good run out against Salford. It was, he played well. Of course, we already know.
He's another 50-50, I believe. I'd be surprised. I'd be surprised if Jack Hughes plays.
Right. So who would slide into second row, would you say?
Probably Nathan Wild. Lewis Brogan can play second row. Yeah. So one of those two, I'd imagine, will come in there. Both Leigh lads as well, so it would be interesting to see.
Absolutely. Like I say, we'll keep an eye out on the Catalan squad. Not quite sure why that hasn't come out, but it's not. Obviously, Josh Charnley in there again. Last week, of course, he went a joint 28th place in the all-time British scoring charts. One more try for him, then he will go out to 27th on his own, and he only needs one more try as well for his 250th in Super League. So that's good for him. Tommy Makinson looks as though, based on what we saw in the pictures at the Wakey game on Saturday, it's unlikely Tommy Mack will be playing. He's got 2 tries to get up to 6th place in the all-time Super League scorers over Jermaine McGilvey, but I'd expect he won't be there. I could be wrong when I say that, but it'd be very, very interesting either way. Yeah. Right, let's go. Look, I think this is a fascinating game. It's a fascinating game. I think Kiri's going to be getting a few boos based on his comments today. I don't think that'll go down very well at all. It should be a belter. Catalan are in great form. Leigh coming into it 3 in a row. Of course, Leigh have got that little, I've got that little problem. In fact, both clubs have, but probably more so Leigh than Catalan. That little eye on the semi-final that comes next week. Catalan, of course, got Salford. I think they'll feel at home against Salford the way Salford are playing. Perhaps that's not as big a distraction. I could be doing Salford a bit of a disservice there, but
KR, mate.
Oh, sorry, it's KR. Salford's gone, isn't it? That was the game. My apologies.
That was last round.
So actually, no, massive. Yeah, exactly. I'm all over the place. So yeah, they both got distractions in that case. I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, anyway, there you go. It happens to the best of us. I'm only human after all. But anyway, let's get into what I think is going to be a really, really good little tussle. And it's this one. Isaac Liu, Ollie Partington. We always say defence wins games. And I think these two this season have been brilliant for both sides in terms of the work ethic and what they've done. You look at the tackle stats, very, very strong efficiency-wise. Ollie's good at 92.9, but wow, Isaac Liu, 96% tackle efficiency. That is going some when you're 9 rounds deep. It really is. He's on fire. They both put their hand up as well in attack. Decent numbers there as well in attack. I just think that, like I say, in tight games like this, that sometimes that number 13 shirt, because of what they do on both sides of the ball, really important. And based on what we're seeing coming into the game, how close I think these two squads are at the moment, and the form that they're both in, these two players could be pivotal.
Definitely. I think Partington plays bigger minutes for Catalan as well, so that has an effect. But interesting there with the Leigh taking less carries but making more meters. So I think from an attacking point of view, Leigh brings a little bit more to Leigh than what Partington does. But Partington's work rate for the Dragons is immense, and defensively, that's where Catalan really need to be good this week to have a chance of beating Leigh. I think they need to cut out Leigh's attack, and targeting Leigh with his passes to Lamb is going to be key to that.
Yeah, Alex, going on about the Catalan squad. Look, I mean, it might be 48 hours before kickoff. It could be they could have the grace till 3 o'clock. But I say very odd that every other team have, including Leigh, given theirs out at the usual time, but Catalan haven't at this moment in time. This, for me, is an absolutely sensational game. What a great way to start Magic Weekend. Of course, quite a few Leopards are going to be with us at Magic. A quick one on that one. Of course, the East Stand is where Super League Raw are going to be. If you see us on the day, come and say hello and have your photograph taken with us. It'd be great to have your company. Like I say, we've got a lot of teams represented in the Super League Raw community going into Magic. We're going to have a great time over the weekend. We cannot wait for it. So do come and say hello. And Richie Taylor says hello to Steph. Obviously, Richie knows you well.
It's
right.
That's the famous Shandy Bass from Leigh.
Is that the famous Shandy? Marvellous. Yeah. Outstanding. Well, it's good to have his company this afternoon. Right, so yeah, great way to start Magic Weekend. I think it's going to be a really good game, and both will want to have a degree of momentum going into those semi-finals, of course, that come the week after. Right, let's move on to this one. Second game of Magic. Hull KR, of course, first taking 11th place at Salford. KR, as you can see there, won 9 out of 16 at Magic. Compare that to the Salford Red Devils, who won 5 out of 16. Everything but everything here going in the favour of Hull KR. I think very few people would see anything other than a Hull KR win. Don't really want to labour the point too much because I think we've got juicier games to get into. This could be quite a painful experience, I think, for Salford at Magic, Steph.
Yeah, I think the most interesting part of this is Willie Peters' team selection for Hull KR, whether he does decide to rest a few players. Obviously, they've got the tough game against Catalan in the Challenge Cup, which they will definitely not be taking that for granted given Catalan's recent form. But if they've got any niggles or anything like that, I suspect they will take this opportunity to rest a couple. Even with doing that, though, the players that are named in that 21-man squad, no matter who he names, I think we'll have too much for Salford, unfortunately, in this one.
Well, let's take a look and see who he has named, and here it is. And as you can see, very strong indeed. Arthur Morg will more than likely be at fullback. Back also in this one. Actually, I heard a rumour. Is he there? Is he not there? No, he's not. I heard a rumour Burgess might be back for this one, but he's not in the 21. I think Paul Rowley was expecting to see Burgess in the 21-man squad. Obviously, he's been held back, so more than likely Hickey will continue on the wing. He had a good game on the wing last week. Did Petter Hickey, of course, Broadbent. Wow, what a performance he had last week as well. So probably a very similar side to the one that we've seen last week from Hull KR. Really, it wouldn't be Magic without seeing some real quality players on the field. I think Mikey Lewis will probably have a field day on Saturday. I really do think that will be the case. Will we see more Bill Leyland? I'd like to think we would.
Yeah, potentially. And I think from a Salford perspective, I thought against Leigh Nicarima and Easton Masters had really good games. So if Ryan Briley comes back, I wouldn't be surprised if he potentially gets on the score sheet if Nicarima's making those breaks. But it's going to be a very difficult ask given the strength of that KR side, even if they do decide to rest players.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, then on the other side, Salford, yes, like I say, there's a sprinkling there. Good shout that, Phil. What no tang, but to be honest, I don't think they'll be too concerned about that. I think they'd rather have him for the semi-final if you can get him fit for then. In terms of Salford, like I say, the sprinklings in there always is. It's the unsung heroes, the likes of Hankinsons, who we've always said we like Chris Hankinson, who's a very versatile player. Of course, they've lost a few this week. Dion Cross, Chris Atkin. Atkin's a big blow because of his versatility. Atkin can play a multitude of positions. They really are having to do it tough. Still no Nene McDonald, even though the rumour is that he could be back for them the other side of the Challenge Cup semi-finals. But yeah, really, really tough going. It's hard to pick anything out. I think the only thing that we can look forward to is, like I say, these two players. I think Nicarima showed it against Leigh that he's got shades of brilliance in him, and I think if Salford are going to get a try on Saturday, and that's, I said, they're not going to get a win. I just can't see it. But if they're going to get a try, then I'd expect Nicarima's hands will be all over it.
Definitely, and he was in great form against Leigh. He was, rightly in our 3-2-1, I think, wasn't he? In terms of picking up a point. Everything good that Salford are doing at the moment is coming through Nicarima, and he has got the ability to do it against the best sides as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of magic from him this weekend. But obviously, it's very difficult if Hull KR are dominating, especially in the middle. It's going to make his job 10 times harder. But I think you probably picked out the best comparison. And I think from a neutral perspective, we just want to see a show, don't we? So to see some great tries in this one will be good enough for me.
I think Magic Mike will be magic at Magic, is what I would say on that. Great, good draw this for Hull KR, because if, and it's a big if, but if half time the game's over, it does give Willie Peters the option of maybe bringing the likes of a Mikey Lewis off to safeguard him for that semi-final.
Yeah, and part of me was thinking, does he even risk him at all? Because he had that lower leg injury, didn't he, earlier in the season? If that gets aggravated again, then that could be semi-final gone. So in a game like this, I would potentially give him a rest, but obviously that's why Willie Peters is paid the big bucks to make those decisions, isn't it?
Incredible numbers, when you consider him 9 rounds in, 8 tries, 8 assists, 30 bust, 8 breaks. I mean, he is very much still in that conversation that he could go back to Man of Steel, couldn't he?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. The form is shot, and don't forget he's also missed a game, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah.
So, what was his stats be if he had another game into that? It's phenomenal, isn't it? So 100% he's in the conversation for Man of Steel again, and at the moment you'd have to say he's probably the top for that. I know Jake Connor's currently on the official one, but it's going to be interesting to see if he can keep this form up.
Yeah, Phil Webster there in the chat. Good shout. Richardson, of course, in the 21-man squad. So potentially, Richardson could be somebody that comes in for Mikey Lewis from the start. And I take your point. It could be a game where you say, have a seat, Mikey. Just have a seat. We'll keep
Richardson did great in that game when he did come in for the injured Mikey Lewis, didn't he? So
played well in the opening game against Warrington for Huddersfield.
Yes, yeah. So I would have no problem with putting Richardson in, and I think that may be the sensible thing to do. But sometimes it can go the other way, can't it, when you rest players? So it does make it interesting in terms of the KR team selection, doesn't it? That's the most interesting part of this.
Yeah, but I think KR have got more than enough to dispatch Red Devils. This would be, dare I say it, the shock of the season if Salford were to do this one. Petr Hiku is just 3 tries short of his 100th for his career. Could he get a hat-trick? Could that be a bet Stef? No bet Stef today, because the odds for try scores aren't out, but keep your eyes peeled. We will post on our social media Stef Bets official triacker going into the Magic weekend. Jack Ormonroyd is going to make his 100th appearance for the Salford Red Devils on Saturday. Well done to Jack. Great service indeed to the Red Devils. Right, this is well worthy of a chat, well worthy of a conversation. We discussed Paul Wellens in great detail as a part of Super League World Weekly. That went out as a special short as well today. So if you haven't seen the whole of Weekly, if you've only got 15 minutes today, then go over to our YouTube page and have a look at what we had to say around Paul Wellens under pressure, including the interviews with him and Mark Purcell from the game on Thursday. Sorry, very, very well worth watching that. Really good, honest debate, reference Paul Wellens. We enjoyed that chat, didn't we, Steph?
Yeah, it was a really good debate and some great points made from us outside of the the Saints bubble kind of thing. So really interesting to get all of our perspective on it. And I think the most telling part of that was the Percival one. Great showed to me what a great clubman and teammate he is, that taking accountability for their own actions rather than putting it on the coaching staff. So yeah, it was a really good conversation, and hopefully put a bit different perspective on the situation.
Richie Taylor, commending you on your ball skills as a ball boy back in the day, my friend. Nice of him to do that. Right, let's get into this then. I mean, it's a great game. It's so teed up. This it is an absolute peach of a match. As you can see, both very similar histories at Magic. Saints have got a draw in there, so if you're wondering why they aren't on 17, good afternoon, Adam Walsh, just joining us now. Great to see you, mate. But yeah, they've had a draw in there, have the Saints. That's why it's 9 from 16, not 9 from 17. Last meet, look at that, the last 5 meetings. Again, we discussed this on Weekly. Paul Wellens, if you're going to be playing anybody this weekend at Magic, he must be delighted that it is the Leeds Rhinos. They are in great form. They've won the last 6 against the Rhinos. The last time the Rhinos beat Saints was in a close 25-24 game in the 3rd round of the 2023 season. That's how far back Leeds Rhinos fans need to go. Come on, you Saints, says Adam Walsh. Go on, lad. You enjoy yourself this side of the game. Hopefully, hey, you never know. I'd back you, mate. I'd back you. We'll get more into that in a minute. Try scored 44-32. Of course, that was heavily weighted start the season for Saints. That big win over Salford. It's been watered down ever since. Tackle efficiency going the way of the Rhinos. The conversions, neither team really doing particularly well in terms of goal conversions. I mean, they're pretty poor stats by Super League standards, it's got to be said. Penalty count 44-42. It's a really tight one, this. And it's, look, it again, couldn't be teed up 5th against 6th. This is the type of... I mean, the only criticism I've got of Magic, and it is the only criticism I've got, I think what they should do, because it doesn't really matter in the fact that it's a stationary venue. So as long as the venue's been announced, it doesn't matter. I think it should be 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and I think they should do it in league table order. And if they did that, I think it'd be wonderful.
Well, yeah, I think that's where you're going to get guaranteed closer games, pretty much, aren't you? And it's funny you said that, because I was like, with the debate on the WhatsApp this morning, I was actually thinking that would be a great way to do Magic, especially if we went to a 14-team comp. I just think that would bring a bit of drama to it as well, not knowing who you're going to face until literally a couple of weeks before. But definitely to be so close to each other would hopefully produce a lot more competitive games. Going to your point on Saints playing Leeds and Wellens wanting it, I think he'd rather have Huddersfield or Salford, to be honest with you, given his current position. But no, I get what you're saying, and it's like Alex has just put in the chat there. It's actually the last 19 Saints have won 18. So that's an incredible stat, isn't it?
It is an incredible stat. Yeah. Phil Webster's nitpicking there. The reason it's 9 from 16, it reminds me there's a draw in there, Phil. It reminds me that there's a draw in there, my friend. Lots of numbers. Give me a break. Right, okie dokie. Yeah, all good. Happy days. Look, I mean, like I say, couldn't be better if the Saints, if they was going to handpick a team for Magic in terms of stats and form against that team, this, of all the sides in Super League, probably is the one that are picked. That said, it's a different Rhinos. We'll get to that in a minute. The squads are out. They are the squads. We'll start with the Saints. Very similar to what we saw against the Warrington Wolves. Noah Stevens. Is he there? Yeah, he is there. Should he... Is he now deserving of more minutes, Steph, in this one?
It's hard to say, because we're not really seeing the fella, are we? He brought him on for 8 minutes, I think, against Warrington. Me personally, I would definitely give him his shot. We know he's a really good, talented young player. So this might be the opportunity to bring him in. But I think this Leeds team is a different team compared to what they've faced previously. Playing with confidence. The man on screen there, Jake Connor, coming into his own and really lighting up this Leeds attack. So it's another one where it's going to be a really, really good matchup, this, for me. And I think this is what, obviously sandwiched in between the Salford and KR game, we've got two crackers on our hands here, I believe.
I think Saints would have been pretty filthy over the match review panel. I think they'd rather not be facing Hanley and Sinfield in this one. They've come up trumps of Leeds there. Very surprised to see Ryan Hall in the squad. I can't see him playing. Can you?
No, I think they've just put him in there as a
filler.
Well, also, and just to give the Saints coaching staff something to think about, in terms of who they're going to be facing. But I think everyone knows Ryan Hall will be playing in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's get into some debate around this. And again, don't want to labour this point. We've already spoken about it in length, but this for me is a big problem to solve. Will he keep his place? We a few weeks ago we were saying, it would show strength of character to leave Lomax out for Whitby, and he did that.
Yeah.
Consequently, though, he put Wellesby in the halves. It's not worked, and he's put this man at fullback.
Yeah.
It would show even greater strength of character if we saw no Tristan Saylor at Magic Weekend. These are the stats post the Salford game.
Yeah.
So 2 tries in 8, 3 assists. Not bad. It ain't bad. Tackle efficiency 85%, 1 break, 12 bust, 96.5 average. The problem is you've got Jack Wellesby who will batter them stats. Batter them.
Yeah.
And he's wasted. We said this at Warrington. Wasted in the halves.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Wellens will leave him out. I think he's ready to make some big decisions now. I think
his job depends on it. Sorry, Steph. His job depends on it. The way the press went for him after Warrington, and of course there is that 2-week break after this.
Yeah.
If Wellens loses this game, there's a very strong possibility, and we debated this to the hill. But in terms of is it right, is it wrong? But there's a very strong possibility he won't be there for the next game. So for me, if he feels the same way, he's got to be brave, hasn't he?
Yeah, and regardless of what they say, they will be listening to what the Saints fans are saying, and I think that's what makes it an easier decision for him, because the Saints fans will not be disgruntled if they drop Saylor at the moment, because half of them don't want him in the team at the moment anyway. So I think they'll put Wellesby back to fullback. I think they'll have Whitby and Lomax in the halves. Obviously, Dion Cross, I think, will come in for this one. So that's going to, I think it might be him and Murphy on the wings, and maybe drop Benison. But a lot of Saints fans were happy with Benison against Warrington. So it's an interesting one in terms of that selection, and that there'll be a few eyes on the Saints team, what it's going to be come kick off.
There's no comparison between these two players, Mr. Sale. None at all. Look, John Benison, I'm afraid to say, he better be used to, I won't say even the bench. I think he'll be playing a lot of reserve grade. He's not getting on the bench either as a winger. Now, what I've done here is I've actually broke this down based on Dion Cross's 2024.
Yeah.
In terms of 9 games, what he averaged every 9 games. And as you can see, from a try perspective, it's absolutely even. And on an assist basis, it's exactly even. However, Dion Cross, with the greatest respect, was playing for Salford.
Yeah.
He's now playing for Saints. Now, of course, he also had the benefit of Tim Lafine. I get that. But he's now got Mark Percival. So, for me personally, there is no doubt. Well, that's if he plays on that side, but I expect he probably will. I don't say he will play on that side because Murphy prefers the right. So, but then it gets really interesting. Look at the work this man does. So it's not just, I think he's a better finisher than Benison. He's quicker than Benison. He will score more tries in a St. Helens shirt than Benison. But look at the work, 25 busts to 15. Everybody always says about Benison, it's like Takeshi's Castle. He always hits the locked door. He just, as soon as he hits collision, he's on the floor. Dion Cross can break a tackle. He's got pace. Look at the amount of work Cross does out of backfield. It's virtually, it's not quite double, but it's on the way to double the amount of meters that Benison does. And that, as we both know in the modern day winger, it's not length of the fielders. It's graft out of, coming from your own back fence. So Dion Cross for me, it's a massive win this for Saints in terms of that grunt, really tightening themselves up, giving forwards a break. Benison carrying that first ball and only making no meters after collision, making probably 10 meters. Dion Cross will probably make on average an extra 5 or 6, which gives more rest to the backs. So to the forwards, allows them a bit of extra time to get back on side for a carry. So not only from an attacking sense, I think he is a far better player, albeit he's not Mal Meninga. He's not. If you don't know what I'm on about, go and watch Weekly. Wow, some fans are getting very giddy about this particular signing. But Dion Cross for me is an incredible signing, and unfortunately for John, I would actually go as far to say that could be the end of his Saints career.
Yeah, potentially, and it's obviously a lot of pressure for Dion now to go from, and it's no disrespect to Salford, but to go to a club like St Helens, the expectation is going to be a lot higher for him. But he's obviously accustomed to a try totally wicked, isn't he, Dion? He scored quite a few for Salford over the years there. It's a really good signing for me, and I think the biggest thing from a Saints perspective is a new signing can lift you, can't it? It can bring that bit of he'll bring that bit of X factor, I think, to this Saints side, and he's a fantastic asset to them. So I think that, combined with the way the players have reacted, particularly Percival, to that Warrington defeat, it could be a special performance from Saints at the weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Alex certainly saying about, of course, they've got Felt to come back as well. And that's going to be, again, a really good headache for the coach to have 3 quality wingers there.
Centre. I think he'll move Felt to centre.
Exactly, yeah. I think, we know Connie Hurrell, he's not going to be there. Cross has got that in his game that he can move into centre. So, yeah, I think, 3 will actually, 3 will go into 3, I think, when Felt comes back. But, yeah, this is a great signing, a great signing for Saints. And I think there's no question about it in his pre-match. Paul Wallens, bit coy in terms of will he or won't he start. Dion Cross starts that game at Magic on Saturday evening. It's a brilliant game. It really is. Looking forward to hopefully winding up Mr. Sharp throughout the full 80 minutes. But anyway, let's give Leeds a bit of love though, because there's no doubt about it. The improvement is on show. This is 24 versus 25, again broken down for the first 9 rounds. And you can see it there. I mean, in terms of what we're saying. I mean, some of these are the first 9 rounds. Some of them are over and above. But it's an improvement year on year. It's about 2024 currently and the 2025 glide path. That's how I've done it. I'm just remembering how I did this now. And it's the glide path. And as you can see, at this moment in time, they're on a glide path to score more tries. Not as many tackle busts or breaks, which is quite interesting. And I think that might be a little bit down to the fact that they haven't got the first choice wingers. Obviously, Ash Hanley being pulled into centre might be, again, haven't not got the time to get completely into the to the grass on that one. But interesting to see that they're slightly down in those areas. However, up in the areas that really, really count, the tackle efficiency is up 3.3%. And we always say that wins you games. You look at their errors. They're on a glide path. I mean, that's incredible. Incredible. 58 less errors in a season. That's a massive improvement. And then you compound that, you add that to the penalty count. They're on a glide path for 34 less penalties. That for me is very, very impressive. That is a big, big improvement year on year. They've got to maintain it. There's still, there's still plenty of rounds still to go, 18 rounds still to go. But this, for me, really shows and highlights the great work at the moment that the Rhinos have done in defence and, of course, in terms of the try scoring.
Yeah, and you've got to factor into that especially with like your busts, which may highlight that's showing a bit down, is they've not had Lockie Miller for a big period of that. They've not had Brodie Croft for a period of that as well, which were 2 main ones in that department. So it's very impressive, and you've got to give Brad Arthur a lot of credit in terms of the turnaround in Leeds this season. They do look like a side that could beat anybody on the day. They've already proven that by beating Wigan at home. So yeah, it's really encouraging from a Leeds fab perspective, and Jake Connor has had a massive part in that as well since moving him. Lockie Miller coming back and moving Connor to 6 has been massive for them.
Yeah, I've just been told, I'm just doing a bit of work here on the fly. The Catalan squad is out, so I'm in the process of just getting that ready. We'll go back to that once we've sorted this out. But thank you very much for letting me know that that is out. We will go back to the Catalan squad in a few moments' time. But let's carry on where we're talking here about Leeds. Now, look, I mean, it's a different Leeds Rhinos. We've talked about the great form that Saints have got over the Leeds Rhinos. Saints, there's no doubt about it. So much pressure from the outside that clearly will have infiltrated the inside. You'll also have the likes of Alex Walmsley, Mark Percival, players who have played alongside Paul Wellens. So they've not just got the emotion of Paul as a coach, but also somebody who they've been out there on the field and played alongside. So those type of players, they will not want to see Paul Wellens sacked. They won't. And there's a chance here they could overplay. That they could try. I mean, we saw a bit of that with Percival, and he was asked that after the game, where, sometimes it looks like he tried to do it himself. And I think Saints look like a side that are doing that at the moment. I think certain key players, they're trying to solve problems. They're not playing as a unit. And they need to do that. They're coming up against a side that actually have had the reversal. They are now playing as a unit. They are now looking a little bit more fluid. So I think for me, even though the tail of the tape would benefit Saints, you can't not look at where they currently are, albeit I don't know what it is. I just think that Saints could do this. And if they did, I don't think it'll be a reflection on Leeds. I think Leeds are a really good, solid outfit this year. But in the same spirit of Warrington in the second half galvanised against Saints, I think Saints could galvanise against Leeds. And it won't, like I say, this won't be anything against Leeds. I just think that if Saints do it, they'll have to fight for it, and Leeds will go toe-to-toe for the full 80. But Saints could just do it, hence why I back them 1-8.
Yeah, and I was the same, Dave. I backed them 1-8 as well. Reason being, I think those Saints, especially the leadership group at Saints, will have had a sit down this week, trying to address where things are going wrong for them. And you're absolutely right to point out, I don't think Wellens is an unlike coach at St Helens. I think the majority, if not all of those players, respect him for what he did for that club, but also see him as a friend and a mentor as well. And I've not heard any inklings of players not wanting to play for Wellens or anything like that. Yeah. So they'll be wanting to address that. And I also think Leeds are coming back off probably the tougher fixture as well in that massive game against Hull KR, which they will have put. Well, we saw they put so much into winning that game. It was a very impressive performance by Leeds, and it's all about how they take that disappointment. If they're looking at the positives of that game, then that's going to be massive for them. If they're looking at the disappointment of losing to KR, that could be a little bit of a factor as well. But I'm like you. I've just got a funny feeling this game matters more to Saints than it does to Leeds, and I think they are going to just edge it. But I would not be surprised at all if Leeds beaten by 2 scores as well. So that's how wide open this is. It's
absolutely. It's going to be great look. And look, a massive plea to the Robins out there. Please do stay in the stadium. Let's. I think that game deserves to have everybody stay behind and really enjoy what should be a brilliant game. Right, let's go back to it. Here it is. The Catalan Dragons have announced finally their squad. Sam Tompkins back in there. Steph, you can see at 1. That is a big call. That is a big call. The way Espiro Boucher, I keep saying Boucher, it's Bichet. He's been brilliant, absolutely brilliant for the Catalan Dragons the last 2 weeks. Let's start there. Does McNamara leave Bichet in, or does he bring Tompkins back?
I would leave Bichet in, personally. I think this is where a coach earns his stripes, because if a player's playing really well and then you drop him just because Sam Tompkins is back, I think he's got to wait till Bichet deserves to be dropped. Whether that's, McNamara's thinking he may look at it from Tompkins will be a bigger threat against Leigh. It all depends really how fit Sam is as well, because like we've seen with Leeds naming Ryan Hall, but he's never going to play in the memory of man. There could be a bit of that from Catalan. There could be a bit of trying to put the Leigh coaching staff off, who we're going to have to defend against Bichet or Tompkins. I would be surprised if Sam Tompkins plays.
The other thing, and I'd say the question will be, if Sam Tompkins doesn't play, I think people will suggest that maybe they're keeping him for the semi-final. That said, if Tompkins does play, arguably on the form the lad's in, is he holding a Spiro Bichet back for the semi-final? So that'd be a talking point the other side of a Magic weekend. No surprise, no Tommy Makinson. We didn't expect Makinson in there. So are we guessing probably for Yahar?
I'll come in,
Yeah, I would have thought he'll be in. Kotrick, of course, in great form. Really impressed with Remy Smith. I think he's having a great season. I think Luke Keary, I hope he's taking his earplugs because I think he could get some booze on Saturday. How dare he? And I take your point. Get your own house in order before you start. You start commenting on other people's. Deary me.
Yeah.
Wow, is all I would say there. Look, I mean, your biggest threat, as always, when anybody plays the Dragons, is if their front line is on, you've got a handful. Now, of course, Joffa's in. You're expecting Joffa to play in this one, and what a baptism of fire for him. As a new Leigh Leopards player, because there's no doubt about it. There's going to be no quarter giving down the middle, is there?
No, definitely not. It's probably the most exciting thing, and I'm kind of glad that we're facing a really good pack this week for his debut game, because this will determine. It's not going to be everything. Obviously, you've got to give the lad a chance to get used to Super League. But you're right, it is a baptism of fire, and it's going to be massive to see how he goes up against the likes of Pangai Jr., Sarte, Tariq Sims. He needs to mix it with these big boys and take the pressure off Mulhern a little bit.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great game. I think, like I said, we did it a few moments ago. It's a wonderful game to start what hopefully will be a wonderful weekend of rugby league. It really should be something very, very special. Right, let's leave Saturday. Let's go to Sunday. It starts with this one: Huddersfield Giants taking on Hull FC. Before we move on, Ignatius Parsi, 200 career appearances for Ignatius if he plays for Saints this weekend. Huddersfield Giants fourth, of course, incredible. Huddersfield Giants, Hull FC fourth, incredible this season. Huddersfield Giants 12th. Can't get themselves a win, albeit the closest he probably come to a win this season was against FC at the John Smiths. They should have won it in round 3. Let's be absolutely honest about that. But all credit to FC, who hung in there and got the job done at the end through Caesar, who on that day was outstanding against his former club. Right, again, here we go. 11, not a bad record, Huddersfield, imagine. 11 wins out of 16, or 17, Phil, if you count the draw, which of course we do.
Most successful Magic team, aren't they? Huddersfield?
One of. I think there's others. I think weren't the one earlier on where I said it was 11 from 16, but they are very much up there, mate. They're very much up there. The other one, what was it? It was the first game, wasn't it? There is another one. I know there's another one.
Sorry, didn't mean to throw you off there.
You have thrown me off, but it's life. These things happen. But yeah, it's a great record. A great record that they've got. Hull FC not so good. 7 out of 17. But of course, that's history. Today, of course, is the present. Getting a good record, Huddersfield. That last, the 4 games prior to that round 3 game, Huddersfield have won them. So again, that's interesting. We know try scoring is an issue for Huddersfield thus far this season. Tackle efficiency goes the way of FC. Again, like Leigh, FC's goal kicking pretty poor. It's got to be said. And the penalty count, I mean, that's quite a surprise. Again, when you look at this, 39 penalties, considering, they haven't won a game yet. You've got to, as a Huddersfield fan, you've got to try and find little glimpses of something that you can be happy about. And they're not conceding penalties. That's a positive. That is a positive. There's not many positives, but there is a positive if you want to look for it that much. FC are too good, aren't they? They're not going to fold here, are they?
Well, it's going to be really interesting in terms of the Huddersfield squad. Have they got any more players coming back? Or probably more importantly, have they had any more injuries? It'd probably be the more likely one, isn't it? But you'd like to think the way FC are playing, and I think they're much improved from that first game they played with Huddersfield. In terms of also getting used to playing with each other and adding Will Price coming into the team as well. So for me, I just think FC are going to have a little too much for Huddersfield, but I do expect Huddersfield to give them a bit of a game in this one. I think I went a whole 9-17, but it could be a little bit closer than that.
You went FC 9-17. You did. I think did I go 18 plus? What did I go? I went. No, I went to 9-17 as well. Yeah, we wish the Cowbell Army well with this. Now, look, in terms of where we see this one, Baz has confirmed it is Huddersfield, Warrington just second to Huddersfield in terms of magic. So, again, that bodes well for the Giants. But for me, surprise, surprise, this for me is the critical matchups on the day. And there's a multitude of reasons why this is the most critical of them all. Huddersfield, for me, need to have a really good, solid knock from their middle units in this game. They really do. They need to go toe-to-toe. And if you look at it, it's tighter than many would have thought. It's tighter than many would have thought. This is a per-game basis. So, this is based on their appearances. So, for example, if Burgess has played 8 and Wilson has played 7, it's based on their performances, and it's all been merged together. And you can see it's a really interesting dynamic. I think Knight's been brilliant for FC. He really has. And Wilson, actually, has been the pick of Burgess and Wilson. Wilson has been outstanding.
Yeah.
But you can see defensively, both go through a lot of work. FC slightly more efficient, but busts very surprising.
Yeah.
The average 12 busts a game between them, Wilson and Burgess, 6. Only the one of those busts has come from Knight. That's gets through a lot of work, but he doesn't break a tackle on often. Again, very similar in terms of carries, meters 40 in it, more going the way of Hull FC. And I think that's the key element here. I think we need to be seeing bigger post-contact meters from Tom Burgess. We need to be seeing that in this game. And the reason I'm saying this is so important is because the best chance Huddersfield have got of winning this game is to allow Wolford to run from dummy half. They are the worst in Super League for dummy runs. And there's a reason for that. It's because they're not on the front foot. If these two, and of course the supporting cast, but more so these two, if these two can really get Huddersfield on the front foot and allow Zach Wolford the opportunity of a few quick play the balls, we've seen enough from Wolford to suggest he can be very, very dangerous. That, for me, is where this game is won for Huddersfield if it's going to get won. If, on the other side, the FC props dominate, I don't think Huddersfield have got a prayer.
Yeah, and Wolford's got another game under his belt, hasn't he, in terms of coming back from fitness? I think because you'll put the teams up in here, but has Clune been named in the squad?
They don't get announced till tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
So that's the problem. So the Sunday games we don't know at this moment in time.
Yeah, but I think with Wilson, didn't he get a 2-game ban as well for something ridiculous? Which is, when you look at the recent incidents, I don't think his was anywhere near. But we're talking history there anyway. But yeah, I'm very impressed with Wilson. I think he's been outstanding for them in a bit like the Dion Cross situation with Salford, in a not very performing side. I think Wilson's been outstanding for them. But you're right. The forward battle is where this game's going to be won, because if FC give a platform for their backs, then they'll beat Huddersfield convincingly. So it's how they not only attack Huddersfield, it's also how they defend against these big players.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, it's the key element. It's the key element. It's the only way. They've got these two have got a massive level of responsibility to get Huddersfield on the front foot, allow Wolford to do some good scurrying from dummy half. We know that's a part of his game, and bring the likes of Flanagan and hopefully Clune, if he is back, into the game, and away they go from there. It's a tall order. It's a tall order for Huddersfield Giants. But you know what? Stranger things have happened. It was their closest game of the season thus far. Tom Briscoe needs 2 tries to draw level with Leon Price in joint 9th place in the list of all-time Super League scorers, and he's also just 3 short of his 100th for Hull FC. Of course, done that in two outings. Of course, he's been at Huddersfield twice now. Huddersfield Hull twice now in his career. Right, we move on to Warrington. Warrington against Wigan. And you can see there, Warrington 10 wins from 16 because they've drawn 1, and the Warriors 9 out of 17, 9-15 in terms of losses and wins for the Wigan Warriors. Head-to-head at Magic between these two, it's 2-1 to the wire. And one of those draws was between these two clubs. That's an interesting one for you, ladies and gentlemen. Don't see that happening on Sunday, but there you go. In terms of the last 5 meetings, other than that, great win for Warrington at the Brick Community last year. It pretty much is all Wigan. Wigan coming to this one on a 4-game winning streak. Warrington, of course, won last out. Like Paul Wellens, couldn't have asked for better in Leeds. I think there's a part of Burgess that might have wanted Saints in this one, the way the current form is between those two sides. Try scored, Wigan free flowing, like Wardle, Bevan, French, Jyfield, they're all at it this season, aren't they? The big shock is Marshall. What's the chance of Liam Marshall going over in this one? There's one for you, try scoring actor. Something tells me that Liam Marshall could be a decent bet. He's due one. Tackle efficiency, very, very close. Conversion going the way of the Warriors. Penalties, very close. I'll be honest with you, I've not really done a key element in this. I just don't see how Warrington can win it. I really don't. I cannot see Warrington winning this game. It's not as clear cut as perhaps the Salford KR one, but I just do not see how, in any way, shape, or form, there's anybody with a neutral hat on looks at this and says there's a chance Warrington can win that. Yeah.
Well, we saw what Wigan did in Vegas, and that was when the two teams were pretty much full strength, wasn't it? So I think given both halfbacks for Warrington are out, going against this Wigan side who've been, phenomenal the last few weeks. I'm with you. I mean, I went 18 plus Wigan. I think Warriors have nothing to. They've no cup semi-final to worry about. They can just go full steam ahead. And I think whether he brings Ollie Leyland in, I think he might have to. I don't think he's got a choice really. So it's going to be really interesting to see whether he puts Curry in the halves as well, given how well he played in that after Sneed went off in that game on Thursday. So lots of talk around this one, but it's mainly around the Warrington team, isn't it? We know what we're going to put out. It's what Warrington can put out and how they can perform. But we saw how Warrington perform when they put the kids out against Wigan in the Challenge Cup. So who knows?
Yeah, I mean, Baz asking, do I think Sam Burgess is under pressure? Not from the club. The only pressure Sam's under is what he's putting himself under, and that again is a big development area for Sam, because he is under pressure in terms of himself. You see that when you speak to him. He is more, and again, you've got to remember Sam, the player. The best players self-critique. They don't need a coach to tell them. They critique themselves. And I think that's the thing here with Burgess, is that any pressure he's under, it's himself putting him under that pressure. Warrington will not be jettisoning Sam Burgess. That's just not happening. So yeah, it's an interesting one. And of course, look, Warrington, and I'm not wishing this on anyone. We don't know what the sides are going to be for that semi-final. There's another round of Super League to go here. So who's to say? We could be sitting here next week and Stef could be sweating based on a few players. We just don't know. What we do know, though, is that in this particular game, Wigan are in form. They're scoring some wonderful tries. All of the players are there. For me, Warrington full strength, as history shows, they're up against it. Wigan would go into this game favourite if Warrington were full strength.
Yes.
Warrington are not going to be full strength. Wigan should absolutely nail this game. It's going to be very interesting to see if Leyland and Ratchford are starting house. Does he leave Curry in there? And how do they go? And again, what I liked about last year when Warrington played them, as much as it turned out to be the wrong strategy, sometimes as a supporter, and I'll just speak for myself here, sometimes as a supporter, when kids are brought in, or when it's actually quite exciting.
Yeah,
because the pressure's not. There'll be very few Warrington fans in that stadium believing before the ball is kicked or passed that Warrington will win this. So they're actually going for a day out.
But they want to see a performance, not a result.
Correct. And the likes of any of these understudies that come in, there's that intrigue of how are they going to do?
Yeah.
And that in itself is quite an exciting thing as a supporter. When the chips are down, I mean, and we've seen this at Leigh with your kids. We saw it at Saints last year, the emergence of Noah Stevens. We saw Jack Farriman. Sometimes when teams get under pressure and you've got to blood the kids, there's no expectation on those kids to hit the ground running. But as a supporter, it is fascinating and it gets your interest. So for me, like I say, even though I expect Wigan to win it, I am very interested to see how the Warrington team perform, who plays out of position and how well do they play out of position, because you never know when that's going to be called upon again. And if any of the youngsters come in, for example, does he give Ewan Irwin his head? Does he give him his head? I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see how they go. So it's well worth tuning in for. I'll be, I'll be in the stands. Don't worry about that. Right, let's get on with it then. So I think everybody expects that to be there. Anyway, here we go. Castleford Tigers Wakefield again. Brilliant way to bring down the curtain on Magic. It really is. I think the two either-siders are brilliant. The Leigh Catalan game, this one to close it, absolutely brilliant. Really, really good. Delighted that this one will be bringing down the curtain. Before we go, though, let's just quickly go back to the other game, a couple of milestones. Bevan French, if he gets a hat-trick, he's scored 100 in Super League. Could happen. Warrington will be hoping that Josh Fulis can actually beat the fastest ever try at Magic, 55 seconds against Wigan in 2021. They'll be hoping that he can go for 54. Is what I would say on that. Let's get into the detail. And Stefan Ratchford, all right, I'd be surprised if Ratch didn't come in for this one. He just needs 4 points to draw level with Yestin Harris in joint 10th place in the all-time leaders of points. So best of luck to Stefan if he does play in reaching yet another milestone. Right, let's get back to this one. Castleford against Wakefield Trinity. They have played each other 6 times at Magic, and it's Cast 4, Wakey 2. You can see there the averages, so no draws in there. That is exactly how it looks. Brilliant. So brilliant. And you've remembered a couple of times in there, Steph, if you remember. So 10 out of 16 for Castleford Tigers. That's going some. 5 from 16 if you're a Wakey fan. The last 3 meetings, 3-2 in the favour of the Castleford Tigers. And you can see there, of course, Cass won the last game. Of course, won the last game. Wakey Trinity lost it, albeit it was a great game in Perpignan. Try scored, pretty even. Tackle efficiency going the way of Waker. Conversion rate going the way of Waker. And penalty count, absolutely even Steven, Steph. They gave us a treat in round 8 when it was 13-12 to Wakefield Trinity. It was a game of 2 halves. What's your thoughts on this one? It should be a belter.
It should be, and if they serve up what they did in round 8, then it'll be the game of Magic. For me, the story of this one is that Cass have obviously improved since that one as well, that game. Wakefield are playing really, really well. We're so impressed with how Wakefield have done this season already and how that squad is performing. So brilliant way to bring the curtain down on Magic for me. And it's probably got the most spice to it as well, with it being obviously the local derby. So I'm really looking forward to this one. I think it could be an absolute cracker. And Cass will want to avenge that, because that will have hurt, especially given how Cass performed in that first half. I think they kind of let Wakefield back into it in that game. Obviously, Wakefield played incredibly well in the second half, but Cass will have been really smart in from that, being the nearest and dearest as well. So I think this has got potential to be the best game, but I think it's also got the potential to be the most fieriest as well. I think we could potentially see a card or 2 in this one.
Well, all I would say to Mr. Lino is keep your feet on the floor, sir. Outstanding. I mean, look, a couple of things here. You just said something that I'll pick up in a moment where Castleford Tigers are concerned, but I think this is this is an interesting one. Who starts at fullback? Now, both of these 2 players have played, I think it's 4 games apiece at fullback. Or is it? No, I think it's 5-4 in the favour of Jowett, I think is what it is. Now, Jowett last week was at standoff. I don't know if Truman's back or not. I don't know if they've got some players to come back. Certainly, Ollie Russell shouldn't be back, I wouldn't have thought. But again, not heard too much about Jake Truman. So will he play? Will he not? I don't know. But he's got a decision there because, of course, 2 weeks ago he played Jay Pitts in standoff. I didn't think that worked. I think he took too much away from Pitts' game, putting him into the halves. So, Max Jowett more than likely would go and deputise in there, and he's a reasonable deputy to go in there. If Truman is back, like I say, I'm not sure if he is or if he isn't. He's then got a decision to make here. It more than likely would go the way of Jowett, albeit it's a close one. And I think what this highlights is that the number one position, Davil's not got a headache.
No.
It's that middle piece that is going to be vital for them.
Yeah, if I was a betting man, I think Jowett will play at 6 and Rourke will play at fullback. I think Jowett, it's a bit like the Wellesby situation, isn't it? Jowett is an out-and-out fullback and he's a very, very good one. And I think it does take away from his game there. But they've got the luxury of having Josh Rourke, who can deputise at 95% of what Jowett does. So I don't think it's a headache for him. I think they'll go with what he went with last week, given how well they played in Perpignan as well. So yeah, that'd be my thoughts.
Well, let's get into Castleford, because you said something and you never know where I'm going to go. And this took a bit of putting together, I don't mind telling you. But Castleford Tigers, let's take a look at Castleford Tigers. A different Cass is what I'm saying here. On the left-hand side is their season as for the 9 rounds. So a tackle efficiency of 89%. The average, they've got the average 9 busts per game, 6 breaks per game, 16 play the balls in the opposition's 20 per game. Post-contact meters of 493, and their average meters this season as a whole, 1,161. You then go to the Wakey game, which was a brilliant game, phenomenal game of rugby league. They increased the tackle efficiency up by 3% to 92. The bust had improved by 5. Breaks slightly down. Play the balls in the opposition half slightly down. Post-contact meters thereabouts, but slightly up overall. Then you look at the Giants. Dazaria's come in. Tom Amone's come in. You know, they've started to bring a few players in. Atkin, you know, will he play at the weekend? Another player. So they've started to bolster the squad, and look at that for a set of numbers. 92% tackle efficiency, so as good as it was against Wakey. 57 busts. 5 breaks just under 1. The play the balls up, 21. Way over the average. There, look at the difference in post-contact meters. Look at the difference in meters. This is a different Castleford that played at Bellevue. And they lost by a point. So Wakey Trinity fans up the Trin, having a great season. Won't go as far as our man on give you head a wobble. It's a must win. It's not. But what that for me highlights, and again, Steph, you didn't know it was coming, but that pretty much crystallizes what you were saying. It's a different cast than Wakey came up against a few weeks ago. And what will surprise many in here is people will say, that's the Tom Amone factor. Tom hasn't hit his straps.
No.
He only got 1 tackle bust of the 57. He only got 16 of the post-contact meters of the 637 and 89 of the total meters. Now, Tom Amone, 16 carries, he's probably good for 140, 150.
Yeah.
So that's and Tom's been here for an extra week. So that's before we see what really Tom Amone's about. So Wakey here, this is a big test for Wakey Trinity.
Yeah. And I mean, those stats, you've got to factor in a little bit that obviously Huddersfield haven't been brilliant, and most teams' stats will be elevated against the Giants at this moment in time, but not to the point of that amount. The increase there is massive, and that is definitely down to the improvements in the forwards specifically. We said for the whole season, we've been saying the back line's pretty decent at Castle. It's just the forwards where they needed to make those improvements. What it does do for Wakey is it's going to tire them out a bit more. They're going to have more to deal with Castleford this time around. And it's that attrition, what they're going to go through, how they cope with that. I think it's going to be a fascinating game. It's going to be so intriguing to watch. Wakefield will definitely need to up it. I think I went Wakefield 9-17 in this one. I think I might be a bit out there.
Yeah. You did go. I went Cass once way.
That's a 30 point swing there.
Yeah, I did, and it's because of this. You know, in the back of my head, I did this morning, but in the back of my head, I was thinking, you know, they were a point out. They look good in that first half. They brought a lot of reinforcement in, and based on the Huddersfield performance, that was look. I get your point over Huddersfield, but Castleford has been equally as poor at times. You know, we could both argue that actually in the first 4 rounds, we were saying Huddersfield were unlucky
Yeah,
through the first 4 rounds and not win because they were playing some half decent rugby league.
absolutely.
You know, Castleford, not so much really.
No.
So for them to go to Huddersfield and to play as well as they did, and to knit as quickly as they did, and like we said on Weekly, Assy was much better.
Yeah,
much better. You know,
in his senior was
senior back on the wing. Massive bonus. Sim on the other side's a good finisher.
Yeah,
you know, I think Sim would have got a hand. He'd have scored a fair few if it weren't for his injury last season.
Yeah, and Senior's been great as well.
So you know they've got the wingers. I mean, Sam Wood's a big one. You know, if they're missing Sam Wood, that's a blow because Sam Wood is class, absolutely class. So that'll be a massive blow for Castleford if he was to be out. But again, this is a fascinating one because down the middle it's going to be immense because both now Castleford is reinforced. I think there's quite a few games like this weekend where you're looking at the middle units and you're going, we're on here. We're on for a right good tussle down the middle. And I just hope that this one delivers as well. Brilliant, really good. Well done to Cass. It is a different Cass, and I think those who haven't played Cass to this point this season will be a bit upset they haven't, because I think Cass now will probably improve over the coming weeks, and there'll be a far turner test.
I think just a big one on this as well. I expect Arcee to be pivotal with his kicking game in this one. And I think they learned a lesson last week that if they can put pinpoint kicks near to the goal line in his senior, and if Sam Wood's playing especially, they're two really tall lads, they can compete for that ball. And I expect them to use that tactic against Wakefield at the weekend.
Absolutely. Right, let's get into what you've got to look forward to over the coming days here at Super League Raw. Don't forget to become a member. There is the QR code. Become a member here at Super League Raw. Show us your support. It would be lovely to have you. Nobody does Super League like we do, 7 days a week. Absolutely outstanding. Right, what's coming up this weekend? In the Sheds, is it there? It will be, but it won't be polished, okay? You're not going to be having the usual In the Sheds this week, because I'll probably be doing it on the run live at Magic. So rather than it be, the big fanfare, all the ins and outs and all the video and all the rest of it, it'll just probably be no editing, straight into me, live from Magic. So In the Sheds will be there. Of course, I won't be able, I probably won't be as polished because, in terms of the stats and stuff, they will firmly have to be on what I saw during the game. But as always, In the Sheds will be there, albeit it will be live from Magic weekend throughout the weekend. So keep your eyes peeled on that. They will continue to come your way. Now, because it's Magic weekend, the Final Whistle podcast will not be available on Monday morning. That's because, of course, we'll be all traveling home from Magic on Sunday. So we will record the Final Whistle podcast on Monday evening, and that will be available on Tuesday morning for your trip into work. You members out there, though, your round unpacked. That doesn't move. That will be there behind the paywall. 6 o'clock this Monday, we will unpack Magic Weekend as only Super League Raw can. And then, of course, we've got Super League Raw Weekly, as always, 8 p.m. live on Tuesday. Some brilliant shows on the way, Steph. In closing, Magic Weekend, it's a special weekend. I think it's a sacred weekend. If the NRL buy into Super League, it's going nowhere. This is a weekend that is, dare I say it, demonstrates both hopefully on the field in terms of the games, but certainly off the field demonstrates how special our sport is.
Yeah, and it's our biggest opportunity to showcase that alongside the Challenge Cup, the true beauty of rugby league and how fans can integrate with each other and have a really good time. So yeah, it's a festival of British and French rugby league. I'm gutted I can't go this year, but I hope everybody who is going has a really enjoyable and safe time. More importantly, get there safe, come home safe, but have a really good time when you're there, and show everybody what rugby league's all about.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, we will go out by just saying this. It is a celebration of rugby league. It's a festival of rugby league. Let's show the people of Newcastle, like we always do, that we're a special bunch of supporters. Let's have good banter. Let's have good fun. Let's not fall out. Look after yourselves. Look after each other. This is about our community. Come and say hello to us. We will be around the stadium throughout the weekend. And yes, Steph, you will be missed. Until we reconvene for Round Unpacked. That's been another Captain's Run. We will be back in 2 weeks' time for round number 11 of Super League on Thursday. Bye for now, everyone.